You're now listening to No Gimmicks.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. And we got another great guest for you this week. We had demo yesterday. And I feel like this whole week is going to be a set 6 week because I got man after this. So I feel like we're just getting the whole set 6 out of the way. But joining me is someone who had a very, very dominant 2025. But we got to end this thing off the right way. She's going up against Abadon this Saturday, MPX Cold Day in Hell. She's here to talk about it. Joining me now is none other than the Dread Pirate herself, Miss Reza Clarke. Thank you so much, man, for your time. Welcome to the show. How have you been?
I've been doing all right. Can't complain. It's like a very interesting couple of months, but happy to have them.
No, really, it really has been. It's been an interesting time. I do want to touch on that for a second, but just going off of your whole year, I was looking at this. This is, am I mistaken? This has probably been your most active year yet. Is that wrong, or is that a correct statement?
I feel like that's probably. If I may have inched out a little bit last year in number of matches, but I feel like if it isn't, it's not by much.
Now, this has definitely been your most dominant year, but it seems like we've seen you pretty much everywhere this year, and we've seen you being dominant everywhere this year. And most recently, we saw you in a tournament. You won a tournament. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yes, sir. I was up in Little Rock, Arkansas at TAC Wrestling. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where they had to have someone vacate the title due to injury. We are, hoping to have our boy Cody back soon. But I am now the TAC champion. A very long night. I wrestled 3 times. Do not suggest it. I felt awful the next day. It's like getting hit by a semi-truck.
But I mean, is it worth it in the end? It's got to be worth it in the end. I know that's a grind in itself, but in the end, you are the champion.
Absolutely. Especially with like this particular promotion, I wrestled over there for the first time in February. And I remember like sending the email that's like, hi, I'd really like to work with you guys. And just being like, okay, I've sent it. Now I have to like wait it out. Cause I really wanted to work with them for a while. And so my stomach was like in knots. And Will Blackwell, one of the folks I wrestled, but also he runs the whole shebang. He got back to me like immediately, was really excited to have me out. So they've accepted me with open arms. And so I feel like Little Rock has become like a second home for me. And so I am nothing but thrilled to be able to call myself, the champion and be able to, represent a place that has, shown me a lot of love in the last few months, the same amount of love back.
No, and that's cool. And it seems like the more I pay attention to it seems like pretty much everyone from this area kind of migrates, and they're all over the place. And it's awesome to see. And just putting yourself out there, and Little Rock, that's not a close spot. You got to get out there. That's a hump to get out there. So kudos to you.
I appreciate it. It's thankfully it's a long drive, but it is a easy one. You hop on 30, and then when you get off 30, you're in Little Rock.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, there's no turns, but yeah, that is a grind. I've driven that a few times, and I'm like Little Rock. So I usually go from here to Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Okay.
Little Rock is like the halfway point. I'm like, when I get to Little Rock, it's like I'm almost home. Thank God. So
No, I feel that. I grew up going to summer camp out in Lake of the Ozarks, so I totally get that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's like, oh, thank God we're in Little Rock. This is we're almost there.
That's how I feel like when you hit Texarkana when you're going there. You're like, okay,
Yes.
midway point. I'm on the way home now.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. But speaking of your dominant year, you ended up on a few lists. I know you're on the BWI 500, which has made its rounds, and that's an awesome list because there was so many North Texas folks from that particular list, and it was cool to see names like you, like Demo, like Kari Wright on that list. But there's another list that is still ongoing. I think they're in the top 20 now. The top 20 drops tomorrow, I believe, and that is
so.
Yeah, I think so. But it is a QWI 200, and you're on that list at number 103. So congratulations on making that particular list. How much emphasis do you put on being on these lists? And I know the QWI, for the people who are unaware, that is the LGBTQ list. It is LGBTQ oriented. A lot of names are on that list, and to be on that specific list, I know the wrestling community is tight knit, but it seems like the LGBTQ community is even more tight knit within that circle. So, what does being on a list like that mean for you?
So for me, it's things have changed so much, even in like the amount of time that I've been wrestling, and I can only imagine, the folks who've been wrestling longer than I have. Like, if you get a chance to talk to Hudson Envy, she and I have spoken a bit about like what the early parts of her career was like, and she talks about getting kicked out of locker rooms for being a lesbian. And so like I can say that thankfully, by the time I started wrestling, folks had tightened up a bit, but it's just even changed so much, because I remember the first year they came out with this list in 2020. And to go from where it was then to like now, where it's kind of one person trying to keep up with an entire niche part of a niche sport. But to go from like the amount of people that he was evaluating for that over to like the 800 people he evaluated this year is really exciting. It's also, in my opinion, like most of the list, which is, I think, the beauty of them, it gives you an opportunity to kind of look at names you otherwise may not come across like outside of that. I always kind of make it a point to just be like, if I see a name and I cannot place it for the life of me, I go look their stuff up. Because normally, like the community, like you said, the community is pretty tight knit, and I would say like the same for almost any, when you start to get like more cultural specific groups of wrestling, it's a tighter knit group. And so you start going like, I try to keep on top of who my peers are, who's coming in, who's going out, that sort of thing. And so if I see somebody and I'm like, I can't place your name at all, to me that's just like, okay, I have some research to do, like let me go look you up, see what you're doing, see where you're at, that sort of thing. And it's just kind of like a fun thing to watch the entire industry grow, but also like this portion of it that really didn't have a place to exist prior to now. And seeing, especially when you get into like the top 20, you start talking about people that are on television. You start talking about people that are paying their bills with this. When again, when I got started and before this, you saw people being told like, hey, you might want to keep this on the down low. This is going to affect your ability to get taken seriously, getting booked really at all. It's going to affect your safety. In some cases, it still does, but it is far less likely, and people are far less willing to support places that are like that. So I think it's exciting. Obviously, I'm not a big list person, but this is one of the ones that to me is like a really big accomplishment, because I remember making it the first time around. And so I've just been like, I'm not ready to drop off this until I hang the boots up. And so like it was a little kick in the butt for me at the end of last year because I didn't make it. And I was like, okay, well, this kind of stings a little bit. So I guess I gotta figure out kind of what it is that kept me off and what'll get me back on. And in my assessment of that, I was in the same places a lot. I needed to branch out some. And even in like the little mock-up that's exactly what they talk about. They were like, she was here, there, and everywhere. And there was a lot of effort into finding places to be here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. I was reading their write-up of you, and it's easy to see you move around, but their write-up really spoke to the year that you had and moving around and just how much you did. And the emphasis that they actually put on MPX and how impressive you've been at MPX. So yeah, those types of lists, I've seen people, and it varies. I've seen people that say lists don't really matter, and there's people that are proud of that and being on those types of lists. But yeah, you nailed this one. Like just the recognition, and there are people on that list, and this was the first list that I've seen of any kind to where they acknowledge like this is your first time, this is your debut on the list. I haven't seen any other type of list do that, and I thought that was really cool. That like I think it was Zoe Dubois, and they were like, this is her debut on the list, and I was like, oh, that's awesome that they actually take the time out to say like this is your first time, and not just like here you go. Like they debuted on the list. They haven't been on here before. Here you are. Here's your introduction. And people that I've never seen before, it does, to your point, make me want to go look up their work. Because someone like a Zoe Dubois is very well known in Texas. Didn't know she was never on this list, but there's other people on that list that I really definitely want to go check out. So thank you for pointing that out.
It's like that. Our girl Anar Kadash had her debut on there as well. So that's exciting. But like you said, I think it's just you shouldn't let it define how you feel about your work, but it is nice when you're putting this level of effort into almost anything to have some amount of recognition be put into the effort you're putting in. So I think lists are good for that reason, because I think, it's nice whether you feel the need for the validation or not to have someone recognize, this person's putting a bunch of effort in. And I also just think as, an enjoyer of wrestling, I like any resource that puts a bunch of names in one place. And it lets me, just kind of take the thought out of being like, I don't recognize this name, so now we have some matches to watch.
Yes. I love that aspect of it, because if I don't know someone, I'm like, all right, let me go look up. And I was doing that today, like just looking up people, and I was looking at the list and looking at people. I was like, all right, let me check this out, see what they're talking about. And I may become a fan of someone. And that aspect is actually really cool. But speaking of that, someone else was on this list at number 28 that you have a match against, and they are prepped and ready. They are the MPX Women's Champion. I believe you have to get your lick back, because I think you were having a very perfect year until Who Runs the World came around and Abadon came around. But speak to me, Cold Day in Hell. You're going up against them. Thoughts? How anxious are you for this match and just the opportunity to get your belt back?
I think I am better prepared this go around than I was the first time. I have certainly had to work quite a bit harder to get back to this point than I feel like I was going into the first Who Runs the World. First Who Runs the World, there was a lot of things going on with set 6 that were not conducive to necessarily me having my eye on the ball. And I feel like I kind of went into that not only distracted, but also kind of, I think I was more concerned about proving myself than I was about staying champion. And I think a mix of that kind of ended up with where the night ended up. Because as soon as something doesn't go to plan, if you haven't prepared for it not going to plan, it kind of keeps spiraling out of plan.
Yeah, it can fall apart very quickly.
And for me, the night started with, Jamie running away. So kind of before the bell even goes off, game plan is completely ruined. And so I think that by the time I think that I just got back on the ball too late in the game for what that match actually required.
Interesting that you say that, because watching that first match, I felt the same way. I was like, when Jamie just stuck out, and it's like when Jamie left, things went awry very fast. But and you're right. This whole year, and to your point, I will say, even on this show, I was kind of worried, and I felt like to get back to this point, you didn't dodge any smoke, and I commend you for that. Why did you want to? Because you were in matches, you were in triple threats, you were in the bad bitch brawl. You just put yourself in matches to where you didn't have to get pinned to lose the match. But for some reason, here we are, you're still in line for this title shot. Why put yourself through that type of grind to get ready for this? Was it to prove something to yourself?
Yes. I also think, unfortunately, we all have our character flaws, and one of mine is I don't like being misunderstood or misrepresented. And I think that it's the first time you come across me and my work and how I handle the responsibility of being a champion is who runs the world. I don't think that's a fair assessment of me. And so some of it too is like, I need people who are seeing me only in the avenue of who runs the world to understand the person they're actually dealing with. And like you said, I'm not someone who dodges a fade. Like, I can accept a loss, but it won't be because of something outside of myself.
Oh, nice. Okay. I get that. I get that. So did you think, was it a case of Who Runs the World being on that big of a stage? Because there were a lot of eyes on that show. Was it a case of like did that create a situation where you felt like you had to overperform?
Yes. And I also think that whether my peers of the local women of MPX will agree or not, I had to carry the weight for all of us.
Ooh.
Because realistically, and I say this with love, if I can't bring it home, it's not coming home.
No,
if it was supposed to be anybody else who is an MPX girl, an MPX regular, MPX someone who comes around a lot, it would have been them the first go around and not me. That's why the first time is like, I get it. If you're Abadon, you come across me and you're like, who's this bitch? But like, I'm not a local bitch, I'm the local bitch. Like, this is the house that I built. We're here because of me. You came knocking on the door because of me.
No,
not the other way around. I didn't chase down Abadon. Abadon came banging on the door for an opportunity to wrestle me. And so my beef is, I'm not going to have it presented as though this is just going to be some cakewalk because you've done other things and been other places.
You know what? I got that vibe the first match. I really did get that vibe. And which is why when that match was over, my respect level for you went through the roof, because you did bring them to that point. You brought the women's division to that point. And afterwards, it seems like the growth and the footsteps that you paid for it to get there. But how was that? Because I don't think anyone's asked you, what was that feeling of bringing the championship to that big of a stage with that many eyes on you and defending it, even though you weren't successful? What was that feeling like?
So I wasn't scared of the match itself, and I wasn't scared of them, but I was terrified. It's one of those things where it's like, and some of it's like a weight I put on myself. It's like you have these feelings, especially like as a champion, as a women's wrestler. This can be the first and last, women's main event, and in some cases, women's match in general, that somebody sees. And I was very nervous because of just, again, the amount of attention the show was getting itself. And it's one of those things where I think that I was just in such tunnel vision. I may have missed when they talked about it before that, but it was one of those things where I got to the show already kind of frazzled. And then they're like, yeah, y'all are the main event. And I'm like, oh, awesome. My heart's in my stomach now.
So no pressure, but you're the main event.
Oh, it was, when I tell you I was so tunneled in, I looked at the back of Mercedes Monet's head for God knows how long. And you know when I realized she was there? When her music was playing and she was walking to the ring.
You were dialed in.
When I was as shaken as y'all were, despite the fact that I had been like right behind her for God knows how long. And I'm just like, wait, when did she get here?
That's hilarious. Because yeah, when she walked out, everybody was like, that's not her. Oh, it is. Oh my God. So like, I can only imagine you like, hold on, she's here right now.
I was as gagged as y'all were. Like I was looking around like, wait, when did she get here? And they're like, she's been here, girl.
Been here. That's awesome. But and that night was legendary. And that match you had with Abadon, that was a great match. It was a great main event. But all right, it seems like that night is what you needed to propel you. Is that the case? Because it seems like after that, you just been on a tear and you're just waiting. You were waiting for this Abadon match. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because I feel like when I got to the back, especially because like there's losing and then there's the humbling feeling of losing and then something happening immediately, and it's like you cease to exist while this standoff is happening. And so it's like kind of getting to the back, and again, Jamie's God knows where. Everybody's, watching Nixon Newell in the ring. And it was a very like, it felt like the end of a chapter for me. And it felt very like this, you have to sit in this feeling to be able to get to whatever the thing that follows this is. Ooh. And I think that I kind of went into the next couple of months, just kind of, I don't know what next is, but I know that if I take my foot off the gas, I'm not going to get to it.
That's a powerful statement. That is a powerful statement because it's to us looking on the outside, it looked like that night set up everything that we're seeing now, because you were there and it's a minor setback, but you built yourself stronger because of that. So that's what it seems like on the outside.
Well, I appreciate that.
So before we get out of here, I gotta ask, because a lot of people, even the QWI are like, you are the glue that held set 6 together. And it does seem like you are the catalyst for the championships that have been coming to set 6. So a championship win, bringing another title to set 6, what does that do for the group overall? Because I asked Demo this question, he said they be a Grand Slam group. How do you feel about adding another title to set 6?
I mean, I think that set 6 is at a interesting point right now. I think we're kind of at a reckoning. We have to kind of, I think that the outcome of, Saturday is going to kind of force some decision making one way or the other. I know for me that this is, I'm kind of in a do or die situation, because I'll be honest with you, if I don't win, I don't know what comes after that. Because on one end, obviously, you like to believe that like I'll just try again, but there's no guarantee again is coming. Like you said, there's an entire roster of people that, want to take their shot at whoever the champion is. And you can only be fighting at that, number one contender spot for so long before it's not justified for you to have it.
Fair enough. That is fair enough. Now I'm hoping you win. I'm hoping you win because I don't want to look on the other side of that and see hard decisions having to be made, especially with set 6, because you guys have been the most dominant faction in MPX. There was a few cases, but faction wise, set 6 has been the standard in MPX for a while. So I'm hoping that stays the case. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, that makes two of us. I mean, I love my boys to death. I think we're just at a stage right now where it goes to what we're doing is working, or it's time to put our heads together and decide if it's not working, where are we going from there, and what does that mean?
Fair enough. So we'll see this Saturday, but good luck to you on your match with Abadon. I will be in attendance and I will be cheering you on.
I appreciate it.
So let the people know where they can find you and just plug anything you want to plug. The floor is yours.
So I am on Instagram and the app formerly known as Twitter as Despicable REI_, all one word. I am on TikTok as well. I want to say it's the same thing, Despicable REI_. Normally, if you type in Reza Clarke into any of the major platforms, you can find me. There's not too many with my name. Honestly, this Saturday is the end of my year, so I'm either going into January with a very successful December, or I am going into January with a lot of New Year's resolutions.
Let's hope it's the former and not the latter. And if it is the latter, then it's maintaining what you got coming out of 2025.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciated this. We got to have you back on. I love to have you back on the other side of being a champion. If that's the case, if not, I just really want to have you back on because this is a great conversation.
It was good talking to you. And when you talk to Man, ask him about how I bullied him into doing a moonsault.
I will be doing that. Let me write that down so I don't forget.
It was a collective effort, but he was very much bullied into doing that moonsault.
All right. Got it. Hopefully he don't call me a goofy because I asked him that. But thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And for everybody watching, thank you. Please give her a follow in 510 Bedford Road this Saturday. Please, if you can make it. If not, twitch.tv/Metroplex Wrestling. Reza Clarke versus Abadon. It is a pay-per-view worthy match, and you're getting it on Twitch. Please go watch it. If you can be there, be there. But thank you guys for watching. Until next time, you know what it is. Take care of each other. Enjoy what you're gonna enjoy. Peace.
And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmicks.